You're listening to the FamVestor podcast. If you're looking to raise your family with intention, gain financial independence, and live a life of true freedom, you're in the right place. Join us as we explore together how to create thriving families, because strong families are the cornerstone for a world at peace.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the FamVestor podcast. Super excited today. We have a guest who's super in line with all our values here at FamVestor. Jim reached out to us, and we're so glad to have him on the podcast. Jim is father of 3 boys, all under 5, which is crazy. But we know a little bit of that craziness in our house. He's also CEO of Living Intentionally. He works with young families on their financial plan towards financial independence. So just seemed to fit really well. So excited to talk with Jim today. Jim, welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I guess, we're going to dig into a lot of financial planning and a lot of what you do with your clients and, just education for all of us listening. But I guess just to dig in a little more about you, I know you're adventurous, but also like how you got into financial planning. If you can give us a little backstory, kind of your origin story in terms of family, finance, and freedom. Can you just share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. I feel like there's so many layers and places we could go back to that have instilled the characteristics that I have and what led me to this point. But I mean, going all the way back to when I was a kid. Like I always thought it was ironic, even when I was little, when people would say, like, I hear friends' parents say, "Oh, I've always wished we could go to Italy, but we just can't afford it." Yet I see a satellite on their house that they're paying a few $100 a month for TV. So even then, I had this recognition of a misalignment of desires and actions. And then moving forward, probably about 7 or so years back, I was working sales for a company. I'm a really, really bad salesman, but I was the director of sales for a company. And I actually there's some funny stuff going on in the business. So I went ahead and just quit without a plan. Wow. And that led to about 7 months of unemployment. Now, fortunately, my wife, her name's Kendra. I'm sure we'll talk about Kendra plenty. Kendra was working at this point, but still our income was just cut significantly. And again, I was unemployed for about 7 months. And during that time, I really started thinking about financial stress and how money is the number one cause of divorce in the US, and how amazing it would be to be able to help people have healthy conversations around their money and actually align their money with what's important to them in life. Now, at that point, I didn't know what a CFP or certified financial planner is. I didn't know what financial planning is. I just knew that, gosh, it'd be amazing to be able to help these people have these healthy conversations and use their money for what's important to them. So I just started pursuing it from there.
Yeah, that is awesome. Yeah, I feel like that's one of the main focuses in my life, because I loved my parents' relationship growing up, but the only thing they ever fought about was money. And great relationship still, but still there was that friction point. And I'm like, when I get married, I want that to be a non-issue, and I don't want that friction point. I want that same great marriage, but even better. And, I felt like that financial planning, that financial independence was kind of one of the keys towards that. So that's awesome you say that.
And I think helping couples towards intentionality, thinking about their financial decisions beforehand is so key, because I feel like a lot of people talk about wanting to achieve, financial independence and financial freedom, but they don't ever sit down to create a plan and think about what that would actually look like in their day-to-day life. And if you don't have a plan, it's really hard to pin that down and actually achieve it.
Yeah, well, and also I think a lot of people have goals in mind that, typically goals are going to be established through influenced by outside factors. Okay, but then we have these goals because we think, oh, well, gosh, like it, traditionally, I should be able to retire at 65. And then for the FIRE movement, those people, it's like, I should be able to retire ASAP. I should have these status symbols or whatever it is. So a lot of people have goals that a lot of times they're not actually aligned with what they actually want. So part of my job is helping families actually initially get aligned with what's truly important to them. I call that, and in our firm, we call that values. So understanding not just the what you want, those are goals, but the underlying why. What is the motivator, the purpose in who you want to be, what you want your life to be about, your legacy, who you are. And we anchor that. And how we approach that is we start with each person. I want for you to be fully known. And I also want for your spouse, I want both of you to be fully known. And then I want y'all together to make sure that y'all are both fully known. Because a lot of times, we'll have these conversations and it's, oh, well, I want to do these things. Well, I never knew that about you. And I thought we'd do this. I thought retirement would look like this and financial independence meant this to you. But it's actually coming aligned together. Mm-hmm. And then finally, then we can start creating goals and a plan. So, a lot of it's initially uncovering just, well, you say you want something, but what's the underlying, really, what are you hoping to achieve here?
Yeah, sometimes that end result isn't exactly what you're going for. You think it's what you want, but there's something beyond that you're striving for that's a lot more important.
Yeah. I mean, so really an unfortunate common story that I've had is before I started my own firm, I used to work and do financial planning for physicians. So I spoke with a lot of people who are, probably pretty high income and high net worth and folks, making $500,000 to a couple $1 million a year of income. But a very common story, even amongst these people, was, we'd be talking and, wow, you've done phenomenally regarding building up, assets and everything. What caused you initially to go ahead and do this? And a really common story is this. Oh, well, Jim, when I was a kid, I saw my parents struggle for money and heard them fight about this constantly. There are arguments about the lights being turned off and, we didn't know what dinner was going to be that night. And I just had to hear that. And I decided when I was 12 years old that I wanted to make a lot of money so that my kids would have a better childhood than I had. And then here we are. We come back and we're in our office and we're talking. It's like, well, gosh, you did it. You made a whole lot of money. So that's amazing. How are your kids? How I know your kids are in their 20s or 30s now, but you look back on those years that they were in your household that you really wanted to impact them. How was that time? Was it everything you hoped it would be? And the really sad part is most of the time there's a pause and a recognition for the first time that, I lost sight of that. I thought I was pursuing this thing for this purpose, but over time I lost sight of the vision. So the goal became misaligned with the underlying value. We have to stay rooted in really what are you hoping to achieve. You wanted healthy money patterns and income and all that stuff. That way your kids would feel secure. But you got so caught up in being at work, you don't even know your kids. So we have to stay rooted in what's important to you. And then from there, then we allow goals to be established. And then from there, we can establish, okay, well, what are the decisions, the trade-offs? Like you said that you want financial independence so you can spend more time with your family. Well, yeah, let's make sure you can be done working early. But how about making sure you're there to be, read to your kids at night right now? You're not going to get that time back. And then finally, we can then, create a plan and take actions. So we have to be aligned, anchored in what are we really, really going for here?
Yeah, I love that whole picture mentality. And it's not just focusing on the little things, but the end goal and also what you can do today. I was looking at your resources page on your website, and I ran across, and I've heard it before, that Mexican fisherman story, and I love that parable where it's like, I'm probably gonna butcher it, but it goes like an American CEO visits this fishing village, this island in Mexico, and he meets this Mexican fisherman who like brings in a huge catch. And he's like, oh, wow, how long did it take you to catch that? He's like, oh, just like an hour or two. And then the American is like, oh, you should build this great fleet. You can, build it up, and then sell the business. And then you could retire and you could start, you could have all the time in the world to like be with your kids and fish a little bit and relax whenever you wanted. And and I think the story is he has that now. Why do everything else to get what he has now? And I think kind of to your point, there's so much that we can be doing today, right now. You have that dream, but that dream will get disconnected if you don't work on the practical aspects of what you think you want right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of there is significant value in planning for the future, but it's so wise to plan for the future while living in the present.
Yeah, I think a lot of folks do get caught up in that, that disconnect of I have to make sacrifices right now in order for us to get where we want to go. But the sacrifices become, in a way, self-serving, where just the one person who is pursuing them is pursuing them at 100% at the cost of the marriage and the family, and there starts to be isolation and unhappiness in those relationships, and that's where the problems arise.
Yeah, that's exactly right. everything in life requires a decision. There's always trade-off. There's always opportunity cost. If you are choosing to pursue something, you are directly or indirectly, consciously or not, you're giving up something else. And we want to make sure you are doing that intentionally, purposefully. You are choosing to go for one thing. It's not about saying no to things per se, but rather, what do you want to say yes to and go big on that yes? Okay, so it's really, going back to what you said, is just a matter of making sure that, both spouses are aligned there. If you're going to give up something, you better make sure that, hey, like, we're going to cut out these expenses. I'm going to need to spend a little bit extra time in the office. So, we can take a few months off next year. Okay, well, let's make sure we're on board. Now, the weird thing is, I've probably had around 30,000 conversations with clients over the years now. And I found that almost every time both spouses are aligned, even the ones like I remember about 2 years ago, I had a family come in and we started talking. And after about an hour, both of them were crying. And we found out that, the wife in this scenario, we'll call her Sam. So Sam really, really wanted to be able to retire. She was an executive at a major corporation, and she just started bawling. She said, the last time I felt free was when I was in college and a barista. I'm so sick. I'm making a lot of money, but I have golden handcuffs. I want to be done with this so I can just go sling lattes at Starbucks a few hours a week. And then the husband, he saw her, her side of things, where she was working so hard now and being overly frugal so she could be done working. He saw that as like, you don't care about our family right now. And he was, they're going to Disney World and he's wanting to buy all the snacks and the big ears and all the things. But really, we found after all of this was, my gosh, you both want more freedom so you can actually make moments and memories with your kids while they're here. You're just approaching it from different places. You'll have never actually had a healthy conversation. And now that we are, like, my goodness. I found out after that meeting that they were actually just on the brink of a divorce.
Wow.
And just because that misunderstanding, they thought they were completely unaligned and, how can we ever reconcile our marriage? We're too different now. You're not too different. You're just not communicating properly.
Do you find that a lot? Like, a lot of it is just miscommunication, and really the spouses do have that same goal and vision?
Yeah. I mean, a significant amount of time, there is a true alignment. Yeah. Now, of course, like, my goodness. So Kendra, and I told you she'd be referenced throughout this. So Kendra and I are pretty different. I'm really frugal. I wear like the same thing every day. I'm wearing a black t-shirt right now. It's the same black t-shirt I wear every day. I don't really spend too much money or want much. Kendra, she loves having nice things. She loves clothes and loves decorating the house. And I don't know, whatever else she spends money on. So yeah, when we had these little day-to-day things, we could look at it and say, oh my goodness, this is so difficult. Why do you spend all the money? Well, why are you so tight? But we step back and we regularly have conversations. Well, what are we truly going for here? And as long as we're relying on the big things, like, yeah, we can negotiate and we can have these trade-offs, but what's the big vision we're going through here? And if you're anchored in the values, forget the goals, throw the goals aside. We're not trying to say like, oh, we need to save $1,000 a month. Like, forget the goal. Anchor in the value. What are you really going for? And if you can truly be aligned in that, the goals will come so much easier. There's a quote by Stephanie Bogan. She's a business coach, and she always says, when your vision is clear, the decisions are easy. So it's a matter of having clarity of vision, both in yourself and then as a couple.
So so I think, that's really why I liked, wanting to have you on, because I feel like you're probably not the typical financial planner, right? Usually you'd start with like a budget and some spreadsheets, and I don't know. That's what I assume anyway would happen. But that seems kind of life-changing, and it seems like there would be a lot of power behind that when it's because you have to change a lot of habits, right? When you want to meet some of these goals and some of these, Anyway, why don't you share a little bit about the process of
what do you do to walk your clients through to, discover what their goals are and how to work towards them?
Yeah. Is there budgeting involved?
Yeah. So what I tell my clients is, my job ultimately is to help you live the life that you want to live, understanding that your money is nothing more than a tool or a resource that is there to help you do this. And I want to help you make intentional, purposeful decisions with your resources So you're using it to the most efficient and effective way possible to serve the purpose in your life. That's what we're going for here. So I'm not here to tell you like, oh, you should do these things and therefore I'm going to be the slave driver behind you. Like, no, you're completely right. So if we anchor in what's important to you, you're going to be controlling so much more of this. You're going to take ownership because you have the clear vision there. I'm not some guy who's telling you you have to go do this stuff. Like, you're driven. So what's that process look like? So one, just to give context, yeah, my financial planning firm is different than I'd say the vast majority. One, I work specifically with young families who desire early financial independence. I'd say most good financial planning firms, they're usually working with people who are about to retire or just retire, those sort of things, because that's where the money's typically at. But I wanted to catch people earlier on before they have these regrets. If we can make small difference over a long period of time, the compounding effect of these changes is significant. Mm-hmm. So what does that look like? Well, let's say you guys said, Jim, this sounds amazing. I would love to at least talk to you about what that looks like for us. So step one is we set a conversation. We go and I would actually send to you guys it's nothing too super fancy. I wish I could make it better, but a date box. The reason I decided to do that is I want to help families spend more time together. And I want to help y'all's relationships. And if I say that's my goal, like, how can I, even before y'all are a client, how can I make an impact in that and say, this is important to you guys, it's important to me, let's go from here. So before you're a client, I send you guys a date box and a set of questions. I say, hey, I want you to go through these questions together. And then we're going to follow up into these things on your own, and then we'll go together and review these. So these 3 questions, if you want, I can go through them right quick, but they're really powerful questions. So the first question, and if you want, we can go through it like our clients, or if not, that's fine. They're pretty weighty. So the first question here is, and we'll go individually. So the first question is, hey, if you had enough money to last the rest of your life, it's no longer a care or concern in your at all, what would you do with your time? Let yourself go. How would you spend your time? What would you do? What would things look like for you? So that's that first question. Is like, hey, let's hear it.
Probably be doing what I am doing.
Staying at home, homeschooling the kids.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we have a pretty good life here, but I wouldn't mind doing a little more travel.
Yeah.
I'd probably want to do a lot more international traveling, maybe at least 50% of the time, and kind of world schooling our kids. I think that'd be awesome. Just visiting different parts of the world, different cultures, different, just really immersing in the whole world.
Yeah. What else?
I don't know. We love doing this podcast, really impacting lives, sharing knowledge. So I feel like we're pretty aligned right now with what we want to be doing. We love the house that we live in. We back up to a lake. We go kayaking, paddleboarding almost every day, go swimming. There's a great rope swing our kids love jumping into the lake with. I don't know.
For me, family is super important. So being able to have the time and the ability to be close to them and in their lives is important. So I love the idea of world traveling as well, but I like to always come home to a home base that's rooted in the grandparents and the aunts and the uncles and the cousins, and I love that. So somewhere striking a balance between the two.
Yeah, I think we'd like to build a little village where, the grandparents have their own house and a little complex, and we'd be there, and the brother can be there too if he wants to join us, and our sisters, and yeah. Wemaybe
in a nice, good weather, tropical place where we could constantly be adventuring.
Okay. See, what we're doing here is just we're casting a vision. Obviously, I mean, there's a place here of like, oh, that's not possible. We have to have a job. It's like, well, you said you want to do these things. Like, is it possible? So that's the first question. We will continue to push that. Like, I want absolutely clear vision. Like, let yourself go. It's fun. So the next question gets a little bit more weighty. So the next question is, well, hey, tomorrow you have to go to the doctor. It's a routine checkup. But the doctor pulls you aside and says, hey, actually I have some bad news. You have 5 to 10 years left to live. Okay. Now, we don't know when in that time frame you're going to pass away. However, your health, your ability to travel, your what you're able to do right now, that's not going to be impacted. So having that news soak in, how do you spend your time that you have left?
Yeah, I think a lot of it would be focused on teaching the kids, just character and
and building beautiful memories together with them that they'll always remember and that we can cherish. Yeah, I think that's important, like not getting caught up in the grueling of your daily, I don't know. Sometimes teaching can get grueling. There's lots of unfun moments, but I guess trying to appreciate every moment and work with it with patience. And not putting off those adventures when we decide we want to do something. Just finding a way to make them happen.
Yeah. And again, we would
answer.
we would dig in a lot
Right.
there. So as you can tell, like it's pretty heavy.
You could spend a couple hours just pondering on those.
Well, you said it's a date night, right? That they go through and.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that sounds awesome.
How often do couples, I'm sure you guys are aware, you put the kids down and by the time the kids are down, the house is quiet, you're so exhausted. It's like, I just want to let my brain thaw out.
Yeah.
You're not going to be sitting down having a glass of wine and a snack and going through these intense questions. But
Right.
these are the types of things. It's like, oh my gosh, you want that? Like, that sounds really cool. Like, let's go for that. So then the last question is, hey, again, you go to the doctor tomorrow. And this time they pull you aside and say, hey, I'm really sorry, but you have 24 hours left to live. Now, the question is not, how do you spend your last day? We could all have beautiful, fun answers to that question. The question instead is, well, hearing that your mortality is fine. This is it. You're not going to continue past this point. What are the things that you're not going to be able to accomplish? Who did you not become? What will you miss?
Wow. That's a profound question.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to think about that one.
I'd really have to think about that one. That's not a quick answer.
But yeah, no, that puts it into a good perspective for, what you want to accomplish in your life that matters. What are you truly going to regret that, knowing that you'd regret it, it's important to you. Yeah.
I'd probably regret not taking better care of my health. I think it's a valid point. It's something we talk about all the time. He's more the health and exercise nut, and I'm the, all right, well, if I feel like it today, but he's always reminding me, like, oh, this candy bar just took a year off your life. Did you think about that before you ate it? And I'm like, But I think that that's something that I wish I took a little more seriously about myself, and also even in how I cook for my own family and my kids, just like not compromising on good, healthy choices and eating habits for the sake of convenience, because it's so easy to just not value that part of you. You take for granted your health and your well-being, and if you don't have that, so much of your life is impacted. So that's an area that I feel like I don't put enough focus in right now. I don't think about it enough, and it's not really affecting me right now, but down the line it could potentially if I don't take it more seriously.
So it sounds like we need to do this date box night, huh?
Yeah.
So these questions, especially as we get to the second two, like those are very indicative of more of the value side of things. I would say the first question is more of goals. Like, oh, it'd be so cool to have a house in, tropical paradise and these things. Like, oh, that's really cool. Like, I would love that too. How important is that? Is that more or less important than, like, if you had to choose, eat healthy, spend time with kids, make sure they're immersed in culture, or like have a house on the beach? Like it really sets this, hey, I've got to make choices now. So yeah, those are very heavy questions. So we go through those. Those are questions that the families go through prior to our meeting. We review those, and then we go into a little bit more fun questions. Like I love hearing about, like, man, tell me about your ideal day and tell me about your ideal year. So we go through these things I want to have a really good vision of who are you? Like, what's important to you in life? I don't care about, like, what are your thoughts on mutual funds at this point? Like, that is so minuscule as far as the value in this conversation. Like, we're not going to go to that. So we go through these questions, we dive in, And like, perfect. Like now that you're clear and y'all as a family are clear and I'm in on this to understand what's important to you guys and we have a clear vision, now we can start talking about the money and how the money is going to support that. So this is still at our first meeting. We're going through, we review those questions, and then we do a quick shift. All right, well, perfect. We're clear here. Let's go ahead, and I just want to get an understanding like where you are financially at the moment. So we'll go through and just do some quick data gathering. So like, what's your, basically it's just balance sheet and cash flow. Like, all right, what's your income, what's your outflows, what's your assets, what's your liabilities. So, and that gives us a good shot. Are you aligning what you say is important or not? So we get all that, then we take a break. So we go off and do our own thing. I do the nerdy financial planning stuff on the background. And from there I try to make the most elegantly simplified financial plan I can. I don't want to give you a 50-page booklet that's going to be a dead document the moment you change your mind or the market changes. I would give these families a snapshot of it. Here's where you're at right now. There's just item by item. Hey, here's what your insurance looks like. Here's what your investments, your cash flow, your excess, all these things. And based off of all these things and what you said you want to achieve, here's what I think you should do between now and probably the next 12 or so months. And it's usually about 12 to 15 items, like, hey, you should probably pay off this debt. You need to use this extra income to put it towards this type of account, invest this much in this type of way. You need to get this type of insurance. You should drop this other insurance. You need to, like, I don't know, there could be dozens and dozens of items. So I give that to you guys. I mentioned way back in the conversation, I'm a really, really bad salesman. So I just give that. So once we've met, I build this plan, I send it out to you, say, hey, here it is. Give you a few days to look it over. And then we meet again because I know what I'm giving out has a lot of stuff to it. So I want to make sure I'm able to answer any questions. So we review that together. And at that point, if y'all want to take that and do it on your own, I try to spell it out as simply as possible. I don't want to be someone who's trying to make myself appear to be smarter than I am. Say, hey, like, if you want to do this on your own, you can. But if you want someone to be here to guide you, understanding that things are going to change and things will come up, and you want someone who's going to be there to guide you along the way and navigate the ever-changing waters of your financial life, then I would love to do that for you. And then we can start working together. So that's what the initial thing looks like.
Wow. There's so much value in that.
How much of your job is just being like an accountability partner?
I'd say it varies client by client. I have one client, I absolutely love him. And he's hilarious. And he and I went through, and first it was like, man, I really want to be able to retire at 45 and get a lake house and do all of these things. Like, wow, it's phenomenal. Like, you're 26, you're doing really well here. Let's see what's going on. Like, the fact that you even have some vision and aspirations at this point is great. Let's see how you're doing to track towards that. We found out he's got a negative net worth of 6 figures. Okay, well, and there's a lot of money that's just creeping out of his pocket on a monthly basis. So we went through and we did audit and found out that he's spending about $2,000 a month on snacks and bars and fast food. It's like, my goodness, you say you want these things, but imagine what $2,000 per month saved on ridiculous stuff. And he even recognized, he's like, this is stupid. Like, the two things that are important to me right now are my health and my financial independence, and going out to eat twice a day is really hurting both of those. So for that client specifically, and this is an oddity, but it's what he needs right now, I reach out every Friday, say, hey, how did you do this week on your savings? And I use a system that allows me to really take a more agile approach to financial planning. I'm not just giving a one-time plan, because I understand that a plan is going to be dead the moment that your life changes or something comes up. So I use a system that allows me to like more get in the weeds on a day-by-day basis. So I can see, hey, he's paid every other week. We're going to scoop this excess funds that came to your paycheck. We're just going to move it over here. That way you can't spend it on stupid stuff. So that's a very one side, like accountability. I have other clients that are absolutely phenomenal. Most of my clients are way smarter than I am. Like, I have clients that are, anesthesiologists and stuff, and they're not hiring me because they're dumb with money. They're hiring me because they don't have the time to manage it. And, they're, while being super smart, they don't spend all their time reading about tax law and investments and stuff. So it's a wide spectrum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there could be different reasons why someone would want a financial planner, and it isn't necessarily because you don't know how to handle your money, but that it just really helps to have someone dedicated who's knowledgeable about it to kind of not totally outsource that, but at least help manage that so that you you can focus your time on other areas. Because it is taxing, actually, to think about all this stuff. Usually Sonny handles most of it for us. He has the brain for it. I wouldn't know what to do, in that regard. And I think that, having someone who really knows their stuff, helping you make those decisions and pointing you in the right direction can be really impactful.
Yeah. And I mean, there's two sides of things. So there's the technical, the quantitative side, so, I mean, last week, legislation was put out there for a lot of major tax changes. And so I spent that week, it was up till 1 a.m. every night reading through this proposed legislation, and then followed up with my clients on Friday and said, hey guys, like, good, there's great news I have for you. There's all these tax changes coming. That doesn't sound like good news, but the good news is you don't have to worry about reading through this. That's my job, is to digest it, let you know how it'll impact you, and proactively plan for these things. So yeah, I mean, gosh, even myself, like I'm super nerdy. I love this stuff, probably to a fault. I tend to be a workaholic because I absolutely love this stuff. But even myself, like, well, part of it comes in, I think a lot of people have a misconception over like what a financial planner is. A lot of people, well, here's a story for it. Do you mind if I tend to make short stories long. So a few years ago, Kendra and I, we just put the kids down to bed, and she was still working at this time. And she had a good job, but she really wanted to be able to stay at home with our kids. That was just her dream. And we were having dinner, and like most nights, I was telling her about, a new client story or a new tax law I learned or planning opportunity or whatever. And she stopped me. She said, Jim, I don't understand. I am so ready to be done working. Yet every night you talk about your job like it's the best thing ever. I don't understand why you like what you do so much. It just baffles me. I said, well, I guess I'm curious. What do you, when I talk about financial planning, like, what do you think I do? What do you picture with a financial planner? And she paused and sat back, and she said, well, when I think of a financial planner, I picture an old guy in a pinstripe suit and cufflinks and one of those white collared blue shirts, in a mahogany office and big leatherback chairs. And I walk in here, and he quizzes me for 2 hours about why am I spending so much, and what are my mutual funds doing, and how much money do I think I'm going to use for utilities when I'm 73? And then he's going to give me a 2-inch thick booklet of graphs and rates of return and diagrams and stuff. And I feel intimidated, but I don't want to appear stupid. So I just sit there and act like I understand what's going on. And he tells me, oh, well, Kendra, you may or may not be able to retire when you're 65. Come back in a year and we'll do this again. So that just sounds like a really bad experience. That does not sound fun as a job, like for you to do. And also sounds like a really bad experience for me. Like, I don't see why you like it. I said, well, okay, if that's what you think I do, what would actually be a good experience? Like if you walked into office, like what would you want to experience? And then she started thinking, really. She said, gosh, I just wish that you and I had someone that we could go together and just talk to them about what do we want in life? What do we want our life to look like? And how do we get there? And the things that we don't want to have happen, like how do we possibly avoid or mitigate those? Like, is it possible for me to be able to stay at home from work and just watch the kids? And what about you leaving this big job and starting your own firm? Is that possible? Is that going to have to be a decade out? Like, can we do that? What about college? Do we save for college? Do we just cash flow it? Do we send the kids to public school or private school? You want to retire early. Is that possible? Do we have to save $100,000 a year? Like, I don't know what that looks like. What about getting a house in Telluride or Jacksonville? That would be amazing. Like, is that for only the super rich, or can we do that? So basically, gosh, yeah, can we just talk to someone about what we want? And then they actually tell us what we need to do to get there. And they just keep us accountable and understanding, things are going to change. If I leave my job, how's that going to impact things? And how do we pivot from there? That would be amazing. And I sat there for a minute, let her just cherish that moment. I was like, babe, like, you literally just described what I do. And now, hopefully, the fact that you just described that would be an amazing experience for you, you understand why I love this stuff so much. I'm not a super math guy. Like, I like this stuff, but I don't like helping people save money on taxes or, whatever, invest their money or do these things because of the money side of things. I like it because whenever we can find an opportunity that is further enabling you to do the things that are important to you. And that is amazing. Like my wife, almost 2 years ago now, she was able to leave her job. Nice. And Awesome. She did that. And I was able to start my own business. So it's the impact on your life. That's why I love this stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know you mentioned in the beginning, one of the main reasons you got into this is you saw, number one reason for divorce is marriage. I'm wondering, like, how is that?
In marriage.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, finances in marriage is number one reason for divorce. How has that been? Like, have you seen an impact there in the work you do in relation to that? I'm just curious myself.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite part of my job is helping families come closer together through these conversations. And the cool thing is, like, yeah, it's a neat conversation up front, but it's iterative. Like Kendra and I, we revisit these things very regularly. Like, hey, like, she doesn't like the house we live in right now. We bought it just because we wanted to get something. I saw that it was in a good part of town. And she always talks about wanting to move. And then we go back and we revisit these things. It's like, hey, like, if we move, here's the trade-off. Here's the opportunity. What would you like to do? So having these conversations and being able to navigate that with families and say, hey, like, y'all think y'all are coming from different places. Let's actually voice it out and just seeing them grow closer together. I love that. I just had a family that joined our firm just a couple months ago. And, one of the biggest things they said is the husband said, I really just want to be able to date my wife again. But we're so busy with work and they own multiple businesses and have kids. It's like, I'm so busy with this. We never have time to just be together. And now, like, yeah, they're going, part of our plan is y'all will go on a date every other week. And that's part of what we're doing. And just seeing their relationship flourish. It is such an honor. I love what I get to do.
Awesome.
It's funny. None of what I just said has any, like, I didn't mention like stocks anywhere in there. That's probably a little bit different. I don't want you to think that like I have nothing to do with the technical side of things. Like, I nerd out. I'm the only person I've ever met who reread my CFP books after I passed the test, just because that's fun to me. So not to discount that, but again, like, you're just as in the same way, like, your money is here to support the life you want to live. The technical side of things is here to support my families. So let's find out what's important, and then we're going to implement this in the most efficient and effective way possible to do what's important to you. So
awesome. So just to know a little more about the business model, are you a fee-only financial planner, or how is that structured?
Yeah, I'm fee only. I'm a certified financial planner, or a CFP. So I am held to the F word, a fiduciary. I truly have to at least try to do what's in your best interest.
Right.
So I'm fee only. I do charge my clients in an odd way. I actually give them a choice. The reason I did that, like, a firm I used to be at, they said they wanted to help everybody, but if you have less than $500,000, really, you're not going to get that much help. Just because it's not, if you're going to charge someone 1% and they have 20 grand, it's not you can't stay in business doing that. So I decided, like, well, if I'm going to work with people who are 30, 31, and maybe most of their money's locked up in a 401k, or maybe they're not saving like traditional assets, they're saving for a business. Like, how can I serve these people in a way that makes sense for them? So I built a fee structure that allows my clients to actually choose how they want to work together.
So Jim, I'm just wondering, we asked this question a lot, and, we haven't talked so much specifics, but if you meet like a young couple and I don't know, maybe you're sitting with them on a plane ride somewhere, what's kind of some advice that you would give to a young couple in terms of finances and getting started?
Okay, so we can take this a couple of ways. One is going to be like the very practical stuff, like live below your means, save aggressively, pay down high interest debt. It's probably going to make sense. Make sure you have an emergency fund. And emergency fund is going to make sense depending on your situation. Save in the right types of accounts. You should probably make sure you're invest appropriately, but also don't get so caught up on that side of things that you miss today. So make sure you're actually allocating funds for like your family today. So yeah, I know this is balance. And obviously, like, part of my job, I feel like it's a cliche financial planner answer, but it's like, oh, it depends. But yeah, it depends what I'm going to tell them. But there's the general principles, like live below your means, save aggressively, pay off high interest debt, invest your money, do so in a tax efficient manner, watch your fees. If you're going to work with someone, understand there's a massive difference between a financial planner and a salesman who just happens to sell a financial product. So if you're going to work with someone you trust and understand what they're actually doing for you and how they're compensated. And enjoy the journey. Don't get caught up in the vision or just today, but like, just go for it.
Right. Yeah. I've always heard like the fee only financial planners are the way to go, but Yeah. Anyway, just because the incentivizations and things like that. I am curious. I feel like people ask me all the time about getting started investing. So this is investing, and usually I just point them. I don't know. I'm very simple, but it makes sense in my head. But it seems like, I don't know, it doesn't always make sense in other people's heads. But I try to keep it simple, and I just usually give this generic advice, and I'm wondering what you'd have to say about it. I usually just tell them, hey, and these are like 25-year-olds who just got their first full-time job, and I'm like, hey, just first take the match your employer gives you, and invest in the 401k. And after that, max out your Roth IRA, and just put it to the S&P 500. That's what I tell them. What do you have to say to that?
I like that. I mean, obviously there's going to be nuances. Like if you told me, hey, Jim, we want to buy a house in 3 years and we need as much money to buy the house for as possible. Well, it's like, okay, can we do that while still taking advantage of the company match? If so, please do take advantage of your company match. Okay. So we assume that. Then we have, you mentioned the next step is after company match is going to be maxing out a Roth IRA. Well, as you're aware, if you put money into a Roth IRA, there are tax benefits, but you have to have that money in the account for so long and so forth. So if you told me, Jim, I do need, besides the company match money, I need everything else to be able to go towards this house purchase, then we should probably look at, instead of using a Roth IRA, we want to use a taxable brokerage account. That way, instead of, paying taxes and possibly penalties when you pull those funds out in a couple of years, we would rather instead pay capital gains tax and have a little more flexibility for the use. So but yeah, I like that. I would agree. As far as how to invest it, I'm a really plain vanilla, really boring investor. When I first got into this industry, I actually thought I might pursue my CFA and do hedge fund stuff and be behind a sea of monitors. But instead I took the route. I'm a really boring investor. So most of my clients, they're young. So we're buying the index, buying the US, buying the international index. And then I am a oddity in the fact that I have an additional sleeve for my clients. And right now it's in Bitcoin and Bitcoin related companies as well. Cause I personally see an opportunity there that I believe makes sense for our clients.
Cool. No, I like that answer. And exactly why you need because I like to give quick, fast advice that's not tailored to specific your situation. But that's why you need that financial planner for that.
In choosing this lifestyle of starting up your own business, I know running your own business can be actually highly demanding on a person and take away a lot of time from your family, but your wife was also able to leave her job and stay home with the kids. Tell us how these very drastic decisions you made in your own family life have impacted you for the better, and what your lifestyle looks like. What do you feel are the benefits of the choices you've made?
I like that question. Well, one, we're able to do this right now because I eat my own cooking. So I'm 31 and it was the day after my 31st birthday. I was actually fired from my old job. I mentioned earlier, I'm a really, really bad salesman. I did not bring in enough money at that firm to allow them to keep my contract. Now, the good news is I've always loved entrepreneurship. And for many, many years, I've thought about starting my own firm. And when I joined that firm, I figured it's a decent chance I'm going to be here just for a bit. And then over time, it became clear, I'll probably start my own firm in 2023, then 2022, then 2021. And then basically by late 2020, it was we want to do this ASAP. So fortunately, the day I was laid off, I got to my car, I called Kendra, said, hey, I'm going to swing by, give you a hug. But then we're dividing and conquering. You're hopping on insurance stuff. We have a baby due 2 weeks from that date. We had a baby due, our third baby. And again, Kendra doesn't work. So it was all right, I'm going to come home, give you a hug. You hop on insurance stuff. Here's what we're doing. I'm going to go to the bank. We're going to finalize some stuff. Bam. And frankly, like I said, years of stewarding our own lives well, we're able to do it's not a worry. We had, I'm an open book. We had about 40 grand, I believe, in savings. So what our plan was. So, okay, we're going to spend that 40 down to 10. We're going to keep 10 in cash just for an emergency fund. Having 3 boys, stuff happens. So we're going to spend that down. And then our next lever, again, I eat my own cooking. We have a good amount of equity in our home. So instead of just letting that sit there or waiting until I was fired from my job to go apply for a line of credit, I proactively had applied for a home equity line of credit. So we have that. So we have another about 60 grand we can pull from a HELOC.
Nice.
Which is really low interest rate, credit against our home. So spend down 30 from our savings, tab into another 60 from our line of credit. That's 90 grand itself. that can float us a year and a half. And then we also have a personal line of credit if we had to pull from that. And that's not even giving to, we have got about another 800,000 in invested assets. Mm-hmm. So yeah, when it came down to it, it was like, this is awesome. We told Kendra, okay, we want to build this business and I'm not going to take a salary for 12 to 18 months. I don't want to stunt the possible growth of this company because I'm so desperate to take an income. Mm-hmm. And because we were smart with our money for years before, we're able to do that without any stress.
Right.
Now, how does that impact our lifestyle now? One, yeah, I could be working at a major firm making, multiple six figures if I wanted, but I wouldn't be able to do the lifestyle I want. Like tomorrow, Asher is our second born. It is his second birthday tomorrow. And, I'll probably take work a few hours, do a few things. And then Friday, I'm taking the whole day off and we're going to the zoo and we're just going to hang out or grilling out and not have to worry about applying for PTO and hoping no one else has taken that. Mm-hmm. I can work remotely. I'm not only collecting a paycheck, I'm building an asset. I'm able to work with clients in the way that I think is right and the convictions I have. I'm a really bad employee because I have specific convictions and I want to run with those. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it is amazing. I know I've said this, like it is just an honor to be able to do this. And the ability to do that is only because we made decisions proactively and we're not reacting to like, oh my gosh, you lost your job. You have to go find something right now. Mm-hmm. No, it's an opportunity. Let's go for it. Mm-hmm. So, and it's just going to compound. Like I initially built my firm in a way that's going to provide a lifestyle that Kendra and I want. Like, we obviously we do this stuff for our family. So it's like, gosh, we want to make sure that we can spend time with our family and, we can have early financial independence and not massively sacrifice what our lifestyle looks like now or in the future. And we want to make sure we're spending time with our kids today. So like, I don't take a meeting with a client before 9 a.m. I don't take a meeting before 9 a.m. because Kendra gets to sleep in, go to the gym, read in the mornings. I'm up changing diapers, making breakfast, playing dinosaurs before I work. Like that's really cool. And then evenings, like some of my kids were sick tonight. So Kendra was supposed to volunteer tonight, but I got voluntold. So I went and volunteered tonight doing some stuff. So, it provides for the lifestyle we want and just the flexibility. And, there's just so many aspects on it I can't even get into without boring y'all. So
I love how you were in such a place, you were working your 40-hour job, or whatever it was, you were doing that grind, but when outside forces came in and kind of changed that up, you didn't really have control over the fact that they were going to let you go, but you were in such a place that it wasn't life-shattering, and I feel like for so many people that's like they are driven by their daily decisions based off of fear of losing what they think they rely on and what they do actually end up relying on in their daily life, and just that entrapment that comes from a lifestyle where you're so dependent on others because you don't have your own life organized in a way. And also you had a very clear plan of, okay, I know eventually I want to do this dream, this goal, this business. What year I decide to do that, we'll see when it feels right. And then time ended up putting it in your lap and saying, okay, you know what, now's the time because the opportunity's been presented. And I'm going to see this as an opportunity to go 100% into this dream rather than just...
But having the plan allowed for that to be an opportunity rather than this curse.
Right. And so that you could take that and it really didn't impact your family or your lifestyle. It was actually almost like a gift in a way because it said, oh, cool, now I finally get the chance to do what I always wanted to do rather than, oh, shoot, I'm without a job. What am I going to do now, And I just think that that's really awesome, and that's a testament to having a vision and a goal and making sure your life at all times is aligning with it. It's not about the moment you get there. It's about all the steps you're taking up to that point and living your life in accordance with that.
Yeah, and man, I'm glad I had a financial plan before I was fired because, like I said, like we had 40 grand in cash. Like if it push came to shove, it was like, that's only going to last us, 8 months. What else? If I didn't have that HELOC established, like I would have been hosed because when you apply for debt, they look at your debt to income ratio. And if you have any debt, and no income,
right,
well, you've got an infinite debt to income ratio. So yeah, I'm so glad that we're proactive in that stuff. And that's where a lot of people, like, I don't need a financial planner. I don't have $1 million or these life altering decisions. It's like, you never know when something's going to come.
Yeah.
And just proactively planning. But then it's also not about having a plan. It's the ongoing planning. Like, you just said, summary is like, it fell in my lap. It's new. It's something I knew I wanted. So that was a long-term vision. The goal itself was dynamic. And I understand that. Like, goals will change. That's completely fine. I'm sure y'all's goals today are different than they were 5 years ago. They'll probably be different in 5 years from now. That's fine. A goal is meant to be there to set a stake in the sand. So you say, here's the direction we're going to head until we have a new set of information that's going to maybe change course. But that's okay. Let's run straight at this right now while we have it. So yeah, unfortunately, we're able to do that.
I love that. And in a way, it's been a blessing because now you're able to live a more flexible lifestyle. It gives you time to be with your family. And ultimately, that's the crux of why you're doing what you're doing with your daily time. That's what we're all out for, to make sure that what we do in our daily lifestyle is what we really want to be spending our time with. Not necessarily sitting behind a desk for 9 hours a day.
Yeah. That's the cool thing. I'm very I am the prototypical client of our firm. Like, just somehow just having like these 30,000-ish conversations with clients over the years, from people who are massively successful to people who are trying to retire in a year. And it's like, I hope that you like eating cat food because that's retirement for you. I'm sorry. These regrets that I heard. And so I've been able to peek around the corner and see the opportunities and mistakes. And then I've had the conversations with other families, and then Kendra and I navigate it. I know the conversations that families are having behind closed doors. I know the opportunities and the challenges and decisions that are going to come up. We've somehow managed to squeeze in like most of the financial decisions you're going to make between your like mid-20s to mid-40s. We somehow compress that to like 3 years. So it's really helpful as well. Like, I can actually relate. It's like, hey, like, you're working Fortune 500, you want to go to a startup or start your own business or invest in real estate. Like, I've been there, done that. So
Nice.
Jim, I'm curious, just to back up a little. You're telling your wife to shop for insurance. Was that like some Medishare program? Was that Obamacare?
Yeah, the Medishare that we ended up going with a Samaritan's Ministry, which is a Medishare, so it's not technically insurance, but we love it. I mean, like I said, I didn't think it was possible, but I got fired the day after my birthday and 2 weeks before our third baby came. I didn't think anyone would do that. It's a low blow.
Wow.
But yeah, so we had a baby with Medishare. It was actually a C-section, which could cost a fortune, but it worked out phenomenally, and we're still on it.
Yeah, I've heard good things.
Yeah, so we love that. And I mean, that's one of the fun things is being able to, working with a specific client type. I have this repetition of the challenges you're going to face, and being able to, see around the corners before it comes up. So for instance, like, a lot of these families, hey, we want to be able to retire early, but there's going to be this massive gap between being at work and Medicare age. If you want to retire at 45, like, that's my goal, is financial independence by work optionality by 45. I probably wouldn't stop working, but just the option. So that means between 45 and 65, that's 20 years of not having access to Medicare. So what are the options? And then be able to go through and lay out to my clients, hey, if you want to make these decisions or these opportunities, here's all the things that you could do to get some sort of healthcare coverage, boom, boom, boom. Rather than, if I was working with retirees, I'd go from having conversations about Social Security and Medicare planning, and someone comes to me with that question, and it's suddenly like, let me go do a bunch of research. Like, you wouldn't want to go see I don't know what's called, a foot surgeon if you need heart surgery. You want someone who's got the reps of working with someone just like you. So you went to medical school, but how often do you actually do this? So that's the nice thing about working with a specific client type and seeing these things on a regular basis.
Awesome. Well, Jim, I've loved this conversation. It's just been great talking with you, and I just feel like you align so perfectly with all our mindsets and all our approaches to life. So thank you so much. If people want to get in contact with you, they want to reach out, what's the best way?
Yeah, you can go to my website. It's intentionallivingfp.com, and I'll actually have a landing page. Let's do intentionallivingfp.com/famvestor.
Okay.
And on there you can I'll have my calendar. If you want to put 15 minutes on my calendar, if you have a weird one-off question, like, I don't know, what's going on in my 401k or what's going on with these tax law changes, I'd be glad to take 15 minutes and answer those questions. Or if you want to talk about like, hey, you mentioned that plan's free. Can I go through that with you? Like, I would love to talk to you about that. If you want to follow me on Twitter, my Twitter is Jim Crider TX, as in Texas. I don't have much to stay on there, but maybe get some nuggets here and there.
Awesome, Jim. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Awesome.